Hello everyone and welcome back to a brand new episode of Roster Duster. Even though you can't welcome someone back to something new, which is something that a lot of YouTubers do for some godforsaken reason, and it really annoys me. It shouldn't, but it does. Okay, mini rant out of the way. I tried doing this one already. I tried this, as you can see, I have alternate costumes, alt forms, erase forever. See, the way I was approaching this initially was basically from the perspective of what I think Smash Bros really needs to do. I think that Echo Fighters should be merged back into the default characters. Like Lucina shouldn't be a separate slot, she should just be a costume for Marth. Because at this point the roster is just getting way too big. There are far too many characters, it's not sustainable. Characters are going to have to get cut. And we all know that it's mostly going to be the third parties. Like, honestly, I think Cloud's got a pretty decent chance of getting cut next time, given how little support Square Enix seem to give the Smash team for Ultimate. But when I was approaching it that way, I ran into the issue that there were just too many characters I was just dumping down here. All the Echo Fighters became alternate costumes, and then had this alt forms thing, which was basically just for Zero Suit, Samus, and Sheik. And basically saying they get merged back into the default characters. All this stuff. At one point, I even put Rosalina down here and said, well, she could be an alternate costume for Peach. And I think that's too much of a crutch. Okay, so alt costumes now is just the characters that are already alt costumes. They're basically down here because the person who made this particular tier list that I'm using as the basis for this, with this really great artwork by this person. It won't let me highlight. J Marmy. Apparently on Instagram or has their own website, so go check that artist out because they do this fun little artwork, and I'm sure there's bigger versions of it than exists here. I gave myself way too much of a crutch, honestly, when I set it up that way, so this is just here because it has to be here to keep these guys here. Basically the goal is to, as usual, as with the previous two episodes I did on Mortal Kombat, the goal is to cut half the roster forever. If a character goes into this little field down here, erase forever, they will never come back, ever. They are gone from the franchise and cannot return. And to make a few ground rules, if I were to cut, say, Dark Samus, she could not return as an Echo Fighter or as a costume for Samus even. Maybe return as an assist trophy, but that's it. They will never return to the playable roster. And I need to say this because apparently it wasn't clear last time, because I didn't think it needed to be explained. I'm not advocating for half the roster to get cut, okay? I'm not saying half the characters need to go. It's just a fun little exercise where I have to reevaluate each and every character, what they contribute to the story and to the gameplay, which in terms of Smash Bros is mostly going to be down to gameplay as well as franchise representation. And I need to reevaluate all that and decide what characters are the more essential ones to keep around. So I do that with Mortal Kombat for which characters should be kept and which should be cut. For MK12, if we continue from where MK11 left off, as well as one for a hard reboot of the series, which I think is what the series most needs. People somehow got the impression that I was genuinely advocating for half the characters to be cut forever. I didn't say that. Stop making stupid, baseless assumptions, you mongoloids. Now the rest of you who sat through those videos and didn't come to that conclusion, because you are at least of average intelligence, you know, you guys, you're alright, you know, you guys have the right to stick around and watch me as I flail around and try and make this whole thing work, see what characters are valuable, which ones aren't, you know, simple stuff. You guys get to stick around and see this, and hopefully it won't be all rambly. So let's begin. Dr. Mario has to go. It really annoyed me that they even bothered to bring him back as anything other than a costume for Mario. I guess that he's meant to be more like Melee Mario in terms of moveset to some degree, but even when they introduced the Echo Fighter concept, they didn't put him into that category. Someone like Lucina, who is an actual different character, is an Echo Fighter. This dude who's just Mario in a fucking coat, he counts as a distinct character. No. So one of the ones I went for was that Young Link and Toon Link would be both put together as one character slot. Here I have to cut one of them because obviously those are the kind of characters that you have to go through first and decide which ones to get rid of. And you do ideally want to have representation from as many entries of a franchise as possible. That's going to be interesting with Pokemon, deciding which characters will stay based on which generation they represent. So if I was choosing between the two links, this link is a bit more different from those two, so you could probably keep one of them for now, though it is likely both will get cut. But if I was going to keep one, I'd say Toon Link. Young Link, you could give him a big overhaul and make his movesets be based around the masks from Majora's Mask, so he kind of plays more like a Pokemon trainer or classic Zelda and Sheik, where you alternate between different forms. But honestly, yeah, just the characters as they are now, he has to go. Because it's one thing to look at this roster and say, well, this character could be made more distinct. Lucina could be given her own completely unique moveset, but again, there's too much of a crutch. You have to work with what we have currently. And so from that perspective, Echo Fight is mostly going to go. Daisy has to go because Peach is the iconic princess, so obviously Pichu, you get rid of him. Though I would like it if Pichu was rolled into Pikachu. You have Pikachu with Pichu as an alt, as well as Raichu as an alt. It's weird that Raichu never got any representation in the series. Jigglypuff, I don't like her moveset, honestly. I've never liked how she plays. I've never liked her as a character ever since the anime just made her the fucking worst character in the whole franchise. So, sorry Jigglypuff, but you have to go. You're just not worth keeping around. Ken, sorry boy. Like, it's a shame because I actually play Ken more than Ryu, and Ken's also voiced by Ruben Langdon, which is so cool, but he has to go. There are more. I know there are more. Oh. See you at the party, Richter! Or rather, I won't. You know, you're going to keep one Belmont in. It has to be Simon. You can still have colour schemes based on these characters, so Ryu can still get a red gi like Ken. Good old Shimon Belmondo can still get a Richter colour scheme. But as far as actual appearances go, no, they're gone. Dark Pit, get rid of that dude. Dark Samus, get rid of her. The franchise like Mario and Pokemon are going to be where a lot of the pruning's going to go. So, again, you want to have representation for as much of the franchise as possible. There are 3 characters from Fire Emblem Awakening. And that's the thing, because Chrom is basically the main character. It's kind of like Persona in that way, where in a lot of ways I feel like the male best friend character often comes off like the main character because they get way more dialogue because the protagonist is an avatar basically, and that's how Robin is. So Chrom is basically the central character, Robin has a more distinct moveset, and Lucina is the waifu. And while Lucina is my favourite character from Awakening, honestly, she's going to have to go. And there's going to be a lot of people in the comments down there going, how could you cut my girl? Because it happened a lot with characters like Jade. Like, people really got annoyed when I cut Jade in Mortal Kombat. I don't know. People get really defensive. Guys, it's okay. They're not actually getting cut. It's fine. Don't worry. Lucas. Because the thing is, Lucas and Ness... Wait, oh, sorry. Wrong category. Lucas and Ness, the thing is, while I think, at least from Subspace Emissary, because that's my only real experience with Lucas as an actual character, he's very much like the Luigi to Ness's Mario, in that he has a lot more personality by being afraid. Ness has been around in Smash longer, and his game actually came out outside Japan. I think if Mother 3 actually came out officially, I would probably keep Lucas around instead of Ness, but as it stands, people are just more familiar with Ness. He's the boy from the cover of Earthbound. Pokemon's an interesting one because you want to have a wide variety of representation, which is why obviously Mewtwo and Lucario are going to go up against each other. I think if most people are going to cut any Pokemon characters outside of Pichu and Jigglypuff, it would probably be one of these two because they are quite similar. And the thing is, my experience with Pokemon is mostly down to the first 2 gens. So obviously I have a bit of a bias towards Mewtwo, but I believe Lucario is the only character from his generation that is represented in the game. I think these two are separate generations. I think he's separate from them too as well. So Mewtwo has to go. Keep Lucario to represent his gen. Add someone to represent Gen 3. It's fine for Gen 1 to have more representation because it is the original. And, you know, people obviously have a lot of attachment to a lot of these characters. I mean, I think most people would honestly cut every other Pokemon from the game before they would even consider cutting either Pikachu or Pokemon Trainer. Although I do really like the idea of bringing in Team Rocket as a Pokemon Trainer-like character. Bring in Jesse and James, and you have Meowth, I don't know, Arbok and Coughing or something. I mean, I'm sure they've got newer Pokemon since then, so you can put in some of them, but just the idea of Team Rocket there, to get like a proper Pokemon duel, that'd be sick. It'd be proper sick, mate. I don't care for Piranha Plant, honestly. I might have played as him a bit, I'm not sure. I've not played as any of the other DLC characters because I've not bought the Season Pass yet. I kind of been waiting for them to announce a character that is really going to make me want it. Oh, I like Joker quite a lot, but, you know, Banjo, Hero, Hero, I don't really care too much for them, honestly. Oh, and as a little taste of things to come, this is going on the assumption that I'm in charge of this Smash Bros. And Sakurai's not involved, so Kirby characters, you are not safe. You are not immune to the snap. Starfox is going to need some pruning. We've got 3 characters who have very similar movesets. What I proposed in the previous version of this was that Balco could be just a costume for Fox. I want to put him on top of Fox, but it won't let me because he's on the edge. But honestly, with this approach, you can only keep 1. Because while I would like it if you had 1 slot for Starfox, and then each of them had like at least 2 costumes. So you have the 4 original Starfox team members and then the 4 Star Wolf team members with their own slot. That'd be cool, but as is, you have to get rid of Falco. Because Wolf is more distinct from Fox. And I know a lot of people are going to go, how could you cut my boy Falco? I'm sorry, but he's just too similar. If you can, hey, don't complain at me. Tell Sakurai, say Sakurai mate, like, what you do, Sakurai-san, Sakurai-sama, Sakurai-kun, what you need to do is, like, make Falco more different, right? Make him different from the Fox moveset, so the Fortunate will keep him around when he eventually takes over the franchise and starts cutting everyone, you know what I mean? Yuns. I don't know why these Falco stands are all chavs, but apparently they are. Fire Emblem needs some pruning as well. It's going to be Chrom or Roy. One of them has to go first, let's be honest. Roy's from a different game, and I think Chrom actually plays more differently from Marth compared to Roy. He's basically Marth with a couple of moves from Ike, but at the same time, we need to have as wide a variety of representation as possible, because if you've played Fire Emblem Warriors, or at least seen the roster, you know how fucked up the bias with Fire Emblem is. In Fire Emblem Warriors, other than the OCs they made for the game, the entire roster consists of Awakening, Fates, and original Fire Emblem characters. And original only gets like 3 that are playable until the DLC. I think there's two characters from other games, which are Celica and Lyn. Even though people really do know Roy and Ike quite a lot, they never made it into the game. So you want to have some variety here. I think if one franchise has the right to have way more characters than the others, it's Mario. Yeah, kind of like when you look at the Marvel vs. Capcom roster and say, you know what? X-Men, Street Fighter, they're the progenitors of this whole thing. They're allowed to have more than the typical limit of about 4 characters or what have you. So Mario gets to have more, but honestly, I say Mario's kind of interesting in that other than Dr. Mario, the worthless piece of shit that he is, and Luigi, who at least makes sense being a clone of Mario, they have a pretty decent variety in terms of the movesets. So that's going to be tough to go through. I would probably make Wario costume for Mario. I know he represents WarioWare, but when you get right down to it, all these characters are technically one franchise. There's an argument can be made for this guy because he's never been in a Mario game before. I don't think Diddy has either, but functionally they're all one franchise, and I just don't care for Wario. I've never liked him, honestly. I don't care about his moveset, I don't care about him as a character. He's just not that great. And since I'm struggling with this, I'm sorry, Toon Link has to go as well. I'm keeping one version of Link. I could try and set a hard limit on how many characters can represent any given franchise, but I don't think that would really work. And I could say, well, Mario, Zelda, and like, I don't know, Pokemon or Fire Emblem, they get to have more because they're the biggest properties and the rest have less. In terms of variety, if I'm going to get rid of one Metroid character, it's going to be the alternate version of Samus. Keep Ridley around. I don't even like Ridley. I don't care about him. I was happy he was announced just so that the people who want him in the game could finally shut up about it. He's at least a bit different. I mean, obviously, in terms of moveset, Zero Suit Samus is very different from Samus and that, but, you know, it's just an alternate version of the same character, so that's something that should be taken into consideration. You know, if they had Evil Ryu as a separate character, even if he had a completely unique moveset, he'd probably be on the chopping block pretty damn quick. Looking at Kirby, I'm going to try and trim most of the franchise down to 2 characters before I start going even further. I think DDD. People are attached to Meta Knight because he was so busted in Brawl, apparently. And obviously Sakurai's attached to DDD. He fucking voices it, for fuck's sake, you know? But my biggest issue with Smash Bros. Is and always has been the sheer amount of Kirby focus we get. I mean, in Subspace Emissary, one of the few locations from an actual game represented, it was Meta Knight's ship from Kirby. When all the characters get captured, who's the one character who goes through and starts saving everyone? Kirby. Why is this possible? Because DDD put a badge on him, which he puts on other characters, allowing them to break free. When you get to Smash Ultimate, Kirby's the one character who gets away and doesn't get defeated. You see the issue here? I don't care what Sakurai said about Kirby being an ideal default character. No. Really what World of Light should have done is started with either Mario, because he's like the mascot of Nintendo, or a Mii fighter. Hey player, make your avatar and go save all these classic video game characters. It's up to you, hero. But Sakurai, his Kirby bias is so blatant. That, as well as the impact the series has on Sakurai's health, is just another reason why I think Sakurai should stop making Smash Bros. And let someone else have a go for once. I'm sorry, Rosalina, but I'm not fond of her moveset, but that's really besides the point. She's not as distinctive as a character compared to these. And Luigi, in theory, is a character you should cut pretty quickly because of how similar he is to Mario, but At the same time, that feels like it'd be sacrilege because it's Luigi. No, but it'd be like cutting Scorpion or Sub-Zero from Mortal Kombat. Even if it's the kind of thing where, like, objectively, it might make sense to do so. I just can't bring myself to do it. Look, the main man, Luigi, gets to stick around, which does mean that all the characters are doomed to be removed. See, I've been avoiding moving these characters because they are just one character per franchise, and that's something that should be preserved. Like, you should try and preserve as many franchises as possible. So even someone like Rob, in theory, should be kept over someone like Wolf or Palutena or Isabelle. If I was trying to make this completely fair, I'd probably just start cutting characters from all these other franchises until there's only like one from each franchise left. But I don't really want to do that. But at the same time, I don't want to cut out franchises that only have one character. So I think it's also going to have to come down partly to their relevance. Have these characters had a new entry in the last 20 years? And in the case of like Rob and Game & Watch and the Ice Climbers, I'm pretty sure the answer for all three of them is no. So yeah, I'm going to cut them. Don't complain, make your own version. Let's consider Donkey Kong its own series and pick one of these three to go. You're going to keep DK, he's the iconic one, he's a Smash staple, he's a Nintendo staple. So it'll come down between these two, and I played a lot of K. Rool. I don't know how different he is compared to other characters like DK. On the one hand, he's a bit more visually distinct compared to Diddy. From what my experience, Diddy is more distinct. Again, I'm not a Smash aficionado. I don't have all the fucking frame data memorized, okay? I'm sure there's plenty of nuances that make K. Rool completely different from the likes of Donkey Kong and Bowser. But honestly, I don't know what they are, so he's going. Fire Emblem needs another cut. Roy. Each character represents a different game in the series, so it has to be them based on movesets. Roy is just another Marth. He has to go. And looking at it, if there's going to be another Fire Emblem character cut, it's probably going to be Ike. Because Marth is the Fire Emblem moveset for Smash. You know, he and Roy had that moveset back when they were introduced in Melee. And Marth is the main character from, I'm pretty sure, the first game. He gets a kind of almost a free pass for like Gen 1 Pokemon. Or Mario and Luigi doing what they can. So Wolf can go because he is still quite similar to Fox. And Starfox, let's be honest, it almost doesn't matter whether the characters had a new game in recent years. It matters whether they've had a good one. And a lot of people generally do not like Starfox Zero. I'm going to have to cut a Zelda rep, and I'd have to be Sheik. In theory, that moveset could be given to a version of Impa, probably the Skyward Sword one, so you still have decent variety in terms of representation for the Zelda franchise. These are the three you keep, the Trinity, you know, these central characters, you know. It'd be like if you're cutting a bunch of DC characters, you would have to keep Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman. You don't cut those three. There's a question. What Triforce pieces would each member of the Trinity be given? Because there's an argument to be made for all different ones. Batman, world's greatest detective, he's wisdom, but he's also courageous because he fights like superhuman entities. So that's something to think about. You know, let me know what you think will be the Trinity Triforce connections. A Pokemon can go, honestly. And I talked a big game about different gens, but I just can't see these characters going. They are mascots for the franchise, whereas these ones not so much. Well, Greninja should stay, partly because Sheik is gone, so it kind of fills in that ninja role, which means down to Lucario and this guy. I've not played a lot of Incineroar, but he is a fighting style character, and we have Ryu, and with the leaks towards there being an SNK character being added, or we also have Little Mac. Incineroar can go. Bowser Jr., he can go, because again, he's not part of like the core quartet of Mario, you know? Good old Yoshi can stick around for now. No one is safe. I should focus on the franchises that have like 4 characters or more, but some of them I just look at the franchise and go, they've not had many entries. Like, there's been 3 Kid Icarus games in its entire history, and only one of those was in the last like 20 years. As far as like relevance goes, Palutena is not too relevant. I'll cut her for now. There is a chance she'll come back, because once I've divided them evenly, I'll always go back and give it another go over to see which character can switch out. Shulk is just another swordsman, so he's got a pretty good shot of being cut. For now, we'll keep him, because if I'm going to cut a swordsman, it should be Ike, honestly. And of course, I do think that the franchises that are the most popular, Mario, Zelda, Pokemon, Fire Emblem, they should get to have more representation because they're more popular. It makes sense to have a wider range of characters from them. God damn it. He has to go. It's the only way, honestly. I wanted to keep him, but I just can't. I don't want to cut these characters who are the only representatives of their franchise, especially the ones who are third party. I have to start grouping the third party characters by company, like the Sega characters, and go, well, Sega, my boy, you can only have the 2 reps. Someone has to go. Bayonetta is technically a Sega one. I think Sega owns the franchise. I don't care about Animal Crossing, so Isabelle can just go. I don't care about the villager either, but again, I'm going to keep him around to represent his franchise. Another Pokemon's going to have to go. Lucario. Sorry, buddy, but you have to go. This leaves us with 3 Pokemon, 3 Zelda characters, 3 Fire Emblem characters. Metroid gets 2. And so does Kirby. Not anymore. This is the difference between me and Thanos. That could actually be funny, honestly, though. If someone did something like this and they set up some kind of random number generator, made it just cut half the characters completely impartially at random, just to properly imitate Thanos. Just passionate, impartial, completely fair, affects the rich and the poor. But then it would probably just be like in Avengers, where like all the Mario characters stay and everyone else dies. Yeah, Diddy's gone. I mean, I could even this out by cutting 1 Fire Emblem character and like 1 Pokemon or something, and then no, just cut one of those, which would probably be Fire Emblem rep. It'd probably be Corrin, honestly. I mean, don't get me wrong, you know, don't tell me foot jobs for days. God rest in peace, Etika. But when you boil it down, it is another sword fighter from Fire Emblem. In theory, you could get rid of Marth and say, well, you'd have Link as a sword fighter and Cloud and Shulk. Help. What do I do? That's the sound I make when I'm thinking. I beatbox when I think. There really is no character for Fire Emblem you can cut and have it be something that people would generally agree with. Because you've got this guy who is... Marth being in Melee was the entire reason why Fire Emblem got to the level of success it did. Because people in the West were like, what is this Fire Emblem you speak of? And then it led to games getting localised, and thanks to that, at least partially, the series was able to make a ton more money, presumably get higher budget as a result of that, and now here we are, we're actually getting more entries. They're all coming out in the West, and people are loving them. I'm sorry, Etika, I've let you down. But it is ultimately another sword fighter from Fire Emblem. Because I think if you cut Marth, I mean, I'm usually like one of the first people to say, fuck Melee fanboys. Not Melee fans, fanboys. There is a difference between fans and fanboys. This is a distinction I need to make now, because people don't get it. There is a difference between fans and fanboys. The Melee fanboys who will say any new Smash is shit and Melee is the best. Those people, fuck them, right? Don't appeal to them. They don't appreciate the work that goes into Smash. They're like the kind of people who will say, fuck Banjo, fuck Hero. I don't care about those characters. Put in characters I want. I don't care about those characters, but I go, you know what? They're good inclusions. They're going to make a lot of people happy. I'm a selfish dick, and I can look at this and say, you know what? They're fine to go in because people are going to like them. If you're more selfish than me, fuck you. You're a terrible human being. Get out. I should stop stalling. So we've got it pretty even, I think. No, I think it is even. So let's have a look through and see, through the characters that I've been putting in Erase Forever, see if there's any I think could be brought back in place of someone I've decided to keep. No. Honestly, I think this is actually I think this is the best you could do, honestly, if you're going to start cutting the characters. Now, if I was going to start slotting these alt costumes in, that would just make it too easy. I'll just go, okay, put these costumes in, erase. I mean, shit, I could just cut all the Koopalings. Then from that, I would have a ton of characters I could just put into keep. But that's the issue. I mean, I've seen people have been inspired by me making these videos to do their own take on it. like with Mortal Kombat and stuff. I think a lot of people kind of missed the point though, which was I had the middle slots originally, which was TBA, which was just a place to put the characters until I could decide what to do with them once I'd gone further into it. A lot of people just keep that. A lot of people keep the TBA section in the final version and they have characters in there. You can't do that! The whole point is to get fucking brutal with your cuts. You have to go really deep with these cuts and start removing characters. Even if you think they deserve to stick around. Like, again, I'd love to see each franchise already represented in Smash get to stick around, but Ice Climbers, Rob, Game & Watch, they're only really relevant at this point because of Smash, you know? And I feel like it wouldn't be fair to keep one of those in over someone like Bowser or Peach, or like Pokemon Trainer and Pikachu, you know? It wouldn't be right. You have to be brutal, even if it hurts you. Even if it hurts you to say, you know, Lucina, the waifu, has to go. Ken, the better version of Ryu, just practically objectively. Good old Luigi, poor boy. He has to get the shaft again. As if his life wasn't tough enough, Nintendo. Ridley finally makes it into Smash. He's finally climbed up that cliff and you just push him off as soon as he's standing tall. Unfortunately, that's how this goes. You have to be brutal, and I think this is the best way to do it. Keep one rep from each franchise. Get rid of the franchises that are kind of irrelevant at this point. But some franchises, like Pokemon, Mario, because at the end of the day, it's still a Nintendo franchise, so keep the biggest franchises with multiple reps. That's fine. I feel like if this was going to be the way it was going to stay, like there's going to be 2 Fire Emblem reps from now on, it would just be Marth and one character from the latest Fire Emblem. We'd just have these 3 forever, just getting different costumes each time. Pokemon would probably drop Greninja and go with something different from the new gen. It would be shit. I need to stress this. If this as a roster for a Smash game isn't too bad, it's a pretty good roster all things considered. If this were the direction they were going to go, and just cut all these characters, that would not be good. That would be bad. I'm not advocating for this huge cut in the roster, alright? This is my finalised roster for this, and now I'm going to show you what I think the roster should look like for the next Smash Bros, okay? This isn't what I'm advocating for, this is what I'm advocating for. You keep one representative of each moveset, all the other characters come down here and they can be alternate costumes. You know, you make Link and Young Link a bit more distinct. Toon Link is a costume for Young Link. You have Lucina and Roy and Chrom down here. They're all just costumes for Marth or Ike, depending on how you want to divide them. Do it based on their build, so like Chrom is a more of a strong dude, so he goes with Ike. Or do you go based on their fighting style, so Roy goes there, while those who use the Falchion and are of the royal bloodline, they use that moveset. There are different options available to you, but this is the way it should go, I think. You divide the characters and you have these characters become costumes for these characters, and you basically just create movesets as the basic. In a way, it's functions. I know that's a dirty word, but it's functions with premier skins in a way, you know? So rather than balancing like 4 versions of the same goddamn moveset, you have one version of that moveset, and that might change based on hitbox, which is why Young Link gets to stick around. He could share one with Link, but I think his hitbox would be a bit too different. And it's also why you'd never be able to get a version of Pokemon Trainer that has like Blastoise or Venusaur, because that would just fuck up the hitboxes too much. I mean, you could just say fuck it and go for it, but you don't really want to do that. And also, in case anyone feels the need to ask, my choices, if I could pick 5 new characters to go into Smash, 5 realistic ones that stick to the pre-established rules that they have to have been on a Nintendo system and they have to have debuted in a video game. I mean, my dream characters like good old Simon have already been added, so the 5 I would add would be Shantae, Ryu Hayabusa from Ninja Gaiden, which, honestly, you look at Ken being based on Street Fighter 2, Simon having his classic Castlevania 1 cover art version, not the newer red-headed version by Kojima. He would be the classic blue costume version, not the black costume version, which I'm sick of seeing. It can be an alt, but the default has to be the blue. And then I can buy the blue version amiibo and say, fuck you, black version. I don't care about the black costume. Black costume. Don't go twisting my words, you bad people. Shantae, Ryu, right up there, the obvious. Dante versus Bayonetta would be sick. Bro, throw in Virgil as a costume for him or a premier skin. Nero too. Put all of them in there. Just do it. I was going to say an Assassin's Creed character, but you know what? Fuck it. Let's go for Prince of Persia. Ideally, the Sands of Time version, though I wouldn't say no to the Warrior Within one. Or you could go with the Warrior Within version with the Two Thrones version as an alternate costume, and then for the final smash, they transform and become either the Sand Wraith or the Dark Prince. I mean, all you could really do with the Sands of Time version of the Prince is that his top comes off. But again, I wouldn't say no to that version of the Prince. Or you could go the route of Hero and have the Prince of Persia be 3 distinct characters. You have the original, the Sands of Time trilogy version, and the rebooted version from 2008 that very few people liked. I liked it. So that's Shantae, Ryu, Dante, Prince of Persia. Who could possibly be the last one? Siegfried Storfen, with Nightmare as an alternate costume / Echo Fighter. There you go. Now that's a pretty good set of 5 characters to go in. Some modern icons, some classic ones, and they've all been on Nintendo systems. Dante was in Project Cross Zone and he's got DMC1 on Switch. Shantae was born on Nintendo systems. The Prince has been on there for multi-plat games and had some DS exclusive like Prince of Persia Battles, the classic. Ryu is most known, honestly, pre-DOA and Ninja Gaiden reboot for his Nintendo appearances, but even in DOA he's been on Nintendo systems like DOA Dimensions and stuff like that. And there's a DS spin-off of Ninja Gaiden that Itagaki apparently made because his daughter wanted him to. Yeah, apparently his daughter said, "Daddy, can you make a Ninja Gaiden game to go on the DS?" And he's like, "Yes, I can." Legend. And of course, the best-selling version of Soul Calibur 2, at least with the original releases, was the GameCube version because it had Link. So I'd like to see Link going up against Siegfried. And in the Japanese version, this would make the 3rd character voiced by Nobuyuki Hiyama because he's already been Link from Ocarina of Time, the adult Link. And he's also one of the versions of Hero. I think it's the one from Ford, the one with the blue hair. Yeah, there you go. And to answer your question, if they were going to put a Mortal Kombat character in, I'd want it to be Raiden. Scorpion wouldn't fit because his main thing is stabbing people with his spear, and he got the flaming skull. I think that might be a bit too much for Nintendo, but then again, there is Bayonetta in the game. Sub-Zero, I guess, could be fun, but honestly, I feel like he wouldn't make it in before Scorpion. And with Raiden being basically the main character of most recent MK game trilogy, I think he has a better shot of making it in. I would accept Scorpion on one condition: Patrick fucking Seitz. Patrick fucking Seitz, put him back in MK. He needs to be Scorpion again. The new guy's alright, but god damn, he is not Patrick Seitz. I don't want to end this on more NetherRealm criticism, so I'm going to pose to you another question. As well as the Trinity, Triforce thing and all those other questions, here's a question for you. When they add third-party characters, do you think it's important to consider how many reps that company already has? Because I'm pretty sure Bayonetta is owned by Sega, so that means Sega has 3 reps. You could argue that they deserve more for being Nintendo's classic rival, so it's fine for them to have more, but Capcom currently has 3 characters. It has Ryu, it has Ken, it has Mega Man. There are a lot of other classic franchises that deserve representation, you know, like Resident Evil. You know, it'd be cool to have good old RE4 Leon running around backflipping and knifing people if Nintendo were willing to let him use guns. I mean, Joker gets to use his gun, so I don't see why not. Leon whipping out a shotgun and like shooting Jigglypuff in the face would be sick. But then you think, well, they've got a Monster Hunter monster in the game as a boss, so surely it's about time they put in an actual Monster Hunter. Probably in the same vein as Hero, where there are like 4 different armor sets. Here's the Rathalos one, here's the Tigrex one, stuff like that. Does a company like Capcom or Sega deserve to have that many characters? Or should third-party reps have their numbers limited? Or should the third-party companies have a limit on how many of their characters can be included in Smash? I'm sure a lot of people would say no, because it would limit what kind of characters they can add. You know, you've got 3 Capcom reps, well, what are you going to do? You could cut Ken and like put in Leon or Monster Hunter. Then what do you do about the other character? Do Capcom and Sega deserve more because they are these prolific companies, whereas Square Enix can get fucked? Konami can get fucked. Namco makes the game, so yeah, but what about Rare? Like, if they decided to start putting a load of Rare characters in, like if they have, here's Banjo, now we're going to put in Conker, and Jago from Killer Instinct, and then Joanna Dark from Perfect Dark. Does a company like Rare deserve to have this many characters? I mean, technically they've already got more, because they got Diddy and K. Rool in there. It's a discussion worth having, I think. So let me just close off by posing that question and saying again, guys, I'm not advocating for cutting half the roster. I never said that. Leave me alone. Seriously, don't leave me alone. I need the views.